We're going to begin now, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Norman Manassa. I'm the director of the National Education Project here in Washington, D.C. On behalf of the project, our board of directors, I want to welcome you all to the 6th annual live national reading of the Bill of Rights over the internet. The purpose of this is to restore to the American people the Bill of Rights. And by that, I mean to get the hard copy of the Bill of Rights actually into the hands of every child in this country, to bequeath to them their liberties as Americans, which are on this one piece of paper. The Founding Fathers, when they created the Constitution, wanted to have something to balance the power of this new government they created and to make sure it did not abuse the people as the Founding Fathers and the Americans at the time had been abused by the King of England. They wanted to make sure that government did not exceed its proper boundaries. For example, it says here, no cruel and unusual punishment. We don't torture people in this country. They tortured people in Europe. They'd cut off your ear if you were listening to something the king didn't like, or they'd take out your tongue if you were saying something the king didn't like. And they had spies running around Europe who would look for people who would do that sort of thing. We don't do that here. We've always escaped that. But this is the phrase that protects us all. No cruel and unusual punishment. This has all the rules here about what police must do, and we're delighted to have a guest from the police force here this evening, in order to protect the liberties of the people. And the police, sometimes people forget this, but the police have these rights themselves. Right, Lieutenant? Yes. The Bill of Rights protects everybody. And we have freedom of speech, I know, because it says so right here. And if you're arrested, you get a speedy and public trial. Why? Because the Founding Fathers knew that you could put somebody in prison for who knows how long and just never have a trial, just never get around to it. You can't do that in this country. You have a speedy and no secret trials. Those kinds of things the Founding Fathers were very concerned about, as you all know. So they produced a document, and some of the Founding Fathers didn't want it, by the way, but enough wanted it to prevail. And this was passed by all the states, so that it is now, and has been for 227 years tonight, the law of the land. This has never been amended in 227 years. Not a single word has changed. But it has kept the liberties of the people alive all that time, from a country that began with maybe 3 million people to now 300 and maybe 40 million people. It really is astonishing when you think about it. Well, this is the great document that we celebrate tonight. This is our 6th time doing it. We're delighted to have children from Springfield Estates Elementary School in Springfield, Virginia here, who have been with us since the beginning, and from St. Peter's School here on Capitol Hill, who have also been with us from the beginning. Now, the students from St. Peter are 4th grade. Am I right about that? And Springfield Estates is 6th grade, am I right? Do the 6th graders raise their hand, please? Thank you. Do you like 6th grade? You do like 6th grade? A little hesitation there. Please, no comment. Just. Well, I tell you, when I was in 6th grade, I loved 6th grade. I loved it. 6th grade was 3 of the best years of my life. I got started with this project years ago. I had the great good fortune and remarkable luck to end up working at the Supreme Court of the United States, just walked in off the street. And I ended up as personal aide to Chief Justice Warren Burger, who was a great man, a great friend, and honorary chairman of this project for some years, by the way. Now, he's gone now, and believe me, I miss him. But all of us who worked, and Jan Horbley, a friend of mine from the court, was his counselor at that time, all of us who worked for him learned the many important things about the law. And it was in his service that one of the things I did, if those of you who have been to the court, I assume everybody to see the lawyers argue, you see the 9 justices, but behind them there are 4 little mahogany chairs for what are called courtroom attendants. And you sit there during oral argument and you run and fetch law books and things of that sort. Well, that's what I did. And the lawyers, of course, are arguing their cases, many of which dealt with civil liberties, search and seizure, arrest powers, those kinds of things. And I was amazed at how little I knew about this. And it was frankly an embarrassment. But I figured most Americans were probably the same boat I was, so I thought then, if there's some way I could change that, I would do it. Well, in the interim, some genius invented the internet, which goes out to the world, which is where we're broadcasting this evening. So I put together a website, and you can come to the National Education Project's website. You can download the Bill of Rights. It's free. I don't need your email, your name. There's no credit card required. Just download this free. And it has two distinguishing things about it. At the bottom, the children signed it, including the children here this evening, and really all over the country. And they put their school picture here, which is our way of reminding them that the Bill of Rights belongs to them. And it does. It is the people's Bill of Rights. And one of the things we're doing tonight, of course, is bequeathing the liberties of Americans to a new generation, both those in this room and those who are listening to us, not only around the country, but around the world tonight. Then, my recommendation, as you'll see at the top, is to put it on the family refrigerator door. The reason for that is refrigerators don't move. They last for 20 years. And anytime anybody in the family now goes to the refrigerator, they see these great phrases: public and speedy trial, no cruel and unusual punishment. These phrases are only three or four words long, but they are the liberties of the people, and they are the law, which I think some people envision this as some kind of a menu of options or something. It's not. It is the law, and has been that way for 227 years of the people. You can see the project's website here, I guess at the bottom of this placard for those of you viewing at home from your personal computers. That's the website you go to get your copy of the Bill of Rights. Download as many as you want, give them to all the children you know, and help to restore the Bill of Rights to the country, which can only be done if you have it in a hard copy in your hands. The Bill of Rights is not logical, it is not intuitive, it doesn't come to you in a dream. You either have the words on a piece of paper or you don't. Well, we give this to you as a public service to our fellow Americans. It's free, as I say, and we give it to you without comment. We do not try to tell you what the Bill of Rights means. We figure your job is to figure that out yourselves, especially if you have children, that this is the responsibility of every American. So if you want to know what I think about the Second Amendment, happily you will be spared that. I mean, who would want to know what I think? Well, nobody. Even my mother didn't care what I thought. So. And I grew up in a house with 5 sisters and 1 bathroom, so I had a lot to complain about, but she didn't care. Let's see. We have a process, as you all have seen in our practice, where each student is introduced by an adult. We're very grateful for the adults, and I'd like to take a moment just to introduce them, if I may. Some of them we were recruited from the audience, so I may not have everybody's name correctly. But first is, and if you would stand, please, Mrs. Mary Randolph. Now, Mary is the principal of Springfield Estates Elementary School, and a remarkable person in the history of this event, because when I told it to her the first time, I didn't even get halfway through, and she said, "We're in." That was it. The school was coming in with these wonderful students, and Mary Randolph is the person primarily responsible for getting this thing up and running. And then we have an old friend of mine, Mrs. Marie Horbley. Marie has a long association with the Supreme Court. She is a former education professor, now retired, but she also works at the court as a docent. So if you ever get a tour of the court, Mrs. Horbley may be the one to take you around and show you how the court works. This is a position of high trust, by the way, just so you know. A friend of mine asked me if I could recommend him as a docent, and he was a fine man, and I said, sure. I said, but you have to realize they're going to want to know if you know the 10 most important things about the Supreme Court. And he said, well, what are they? And I said, the safety of the justices, the safety of the justices, the safety of the justices. Write down that list. So to be given a position at the court is no small measure of trust the court has in Marie Horbley, my old friend. And there's this tall, handsome man in a farmer's shirt who is a personal relative of somebody here. And sir, what is your name?
Garrett Atherton.
Thank you very much. we're delighted to hear been recruited against his will, I think, but nevertheless, we're very happy that you're here tonight. And then Jan Horbley. Jan, if you wouldn't mind standing. Jan is an attorney, a former counselor to Chief Justice Burger, an old Supreme Court hand, and just delighted you're here with us again. He and Marie have been here since the very beginning again, by the way. Thank you. And then we have, we're delighted and honored to have Lieutenant Tasha Bryant, who comes to us from the Metropolitan Police Department through the grace of D.C. Police Chief Peter Newsom and Commander Michael Colligan. It is absolutely vital, in my view, to have the police participating in these celebrations because they are part and parcel and fundamental to the law of this country, which is expressed again in the Bill of Rights. Lieutenant, thank you very much for coming this evening. This hand, sir, name?
I'm David Clayton.
David. Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Again, a recruit from the audience. Thank you very much for coming. And Mr. Sloan, right?
Peter Sloan.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have the fourth grade teacher from St. Peter's School on Capitol Hill and also has a title here, Assistant Principal for 3rd and 5th grade. Right, Allison? It's Allison Atherton, who has been with us the last 4 years and is absolutely at the center of this whole operation and brings these wonderful children every year, and they're so beautifully trained and do such a great job. And then we have a new recruit who is Claire.
Oscar.
Thank you. Who is related to somebody here, I think, right? Who's that?
Mary Randall.
Mary Randall. Had not expected to be part of the proceedings here, but got dragged in, for which we're very grateful. And Jan Horbley has the 10th Amendment, so we're delighted he's here twice. Well, this could not go on, by the way, if everybody didn't pitch in and help out. And everybody has. It's been a wonderful thing to see every single year. And it has grown in a way that nobody expected, certainly not myself, is we have a birthday cake at the end of the celebration every year. And I was always astonished by how excited the kids get about this cake. And it came to me that we should have birthday parties for the Bill of Rights in the schools. So I live in Ward 6, and I wrote all the principals, and 7 of them last year agreed to, we provide the cake from Costco, bless their hearts. We provide free napkins, forks, and plates. And they have a birthday party. And they sing happy birthday, and they read the Bill of Rights as a class and cut the cake. And I mean, it's wonderful. But it's a wonderful introduction for 4th graders and 6th graders to their liberties as Americans. And then they sign this document, take it home, and hopefully put it on the refrigerator door. Well, it was such a hit that we did it again this year, and we began with 7 schools in the district. This year we had 24 today, by the way, who got these cakes from Costco. Again, delivered them free, which is amazing. It's a great cost to do that, but they picked that up, and utensils as well. Read the Bill of Rights, signed the Bill of Rights, all that. But instead of doing it in 3 states last year, which was done by the Federal Bar Association, by the way, we're very grateful to them. Instead of doing it in 3 states, as we did last year, we did it in 7 states. New York, Virginia, Florida, Wisconsin, Ohio, Texas, and Oklahoma. In all these places, some of them with federal judges, by the way, and in New York City, the police delivered the cakes. So the cops came into the 4th grade classrooms, these huge cakes from Costco. So it was just a joyous event all over the country today at noon, our time. Just by people who are complete strangers. They never heard of me, they never heard of this project, because of the beautiful thing these young children have set in motion. And looking at this website which is on my website, they could see what a profoundly wonderful thing it is we do here, and take from it that they could do a profoundly wonderful thing in their own schools. Now, we'll grow into next year, I hope, with 20 states, but my real hope is to get the astronauts on the International Space Station to read Amendments 9 and 10, which means that in a year from now, you will have men from space reading the Bill of Rights to the entire Earth. That's the plan. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to pitch it to the Congress and see if we can get some support, see what happens. Men from space. Even Thomas Jefferson never thought of that. So, well, one of the things I did when I was at the court, they brought in new computers to help do the court's publications, which is producing the court's opinions, which is what the court produces. And I was asked to teach people how to use the thing. This is 1980. Everything was very new. Nobody knew much about how to do this, including me. But I wrote the training manual and got it up and running and all that. And after they learn about what's on the screen and the keys, and all this stuff, they actually have to type something. Now, these are law clerks at the court. They're lawyers, of course, and some of the justices. So they have to type something. And I figured they'd been typing enough cases. So I'm a big fan of Henny Youngman, who's a comedian from 100 years ago. And they end up typing at the Supreme Court of the United States. A guy walks up to me on the street and wants to borrow $5 until payday. I said, "When's payday?" And he says, "How do I know you're the one who's working?" Ba-boom, boom. See, that's the joke. That's the joke. So you had justices of the Supreme Court of the United States typing this dopey joke. The reason I mention it is that joke is 100 years old. 100 years old. And we had people at the court who wanted their own jokes in the training manual, and one of them was, again, these are Henny Youngman's. A guy goes to a psychiatrist says, "You're crazy." Guy says, "I want a second opinion." The psychiatrist says, "You're ugly too." Guy goes to his doctor gives him 6 months to live. Guy comes back in 6 months, says, "Doc, I can't pay you." Doctor gives him another 6 months. See? So these are all 100 years old. Now, my point is, it must be very difficult for fourth graders, sixth graders to contemplate the notion of 100 years. 100 years. How would a small child grasp anything like that? But the Bill of Rights is twice as old. The Bill of Rights is 227 years old tonight. The great document of liberty that we honor here with these great children from St. Peter's and Springfield Estates. So we begin the reading of the Bill of Rights. I lost my thing here. Sorry. Mary, I would like you, if you would, first of all, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, please. And the flag is over there. If you'd stand, please. Hands over hearts. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, we did have the possibility of a superb choir director come this evening, but the weather and other things kind of got in the way. So the schedule says to sing "God Bless America." So who would like to lead us in "God Bless America"? Who has such courage? Yes. All right. Yes. What's your name? Please stand up. Yep. Bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Wonderful job. Thank you. Don't leave, there's more. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the reading of the Bill of Rights. Mary?
Good evening. I'm Mary Randolph, and it's my honor to introduce Nalani Shimless of Springfield Estates Elementary School, who will read the First Amendment.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Good evening. I'm Marie Horbally, and it is my pleasure to introduce Jack Cushman of St. Peter's School, and he will read the Second Amendment.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Good evening. My name is Garrett Atherton, and it is my pleasure to introduce Laith Sabitan, who will be reading the Third Amendment.
No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
Good evening. I'm Jan Horbally, and it's my pleasure to introduce Annalise Del Rosario, who of St. Peter's School, who will read the Fourth Amendment.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Good evening. I am Lieutenant Bryant of the Metropolitan Police Department of District of Columbia. It is my honor to introduce Josie Clayton of Springfield Estates Elementary School, and she will be reading the Fifth Amendment.
No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property, without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
Good evening. I'm David Clayton, and I'm very pleased to introduce Bryce Hansford of St. Peter's School, who will read the Sixth Amendment.
In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, with which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
Good evening.
I'm Peter Sloan, and I'm delighted to introduce Valentina Sayre of Springfield Estates Elementary School, who will be reading the Seventh Amendment.
In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
Good evening. I'm Allison Atherton, and it is my pleasure to introduce Ainsley Kovaric of St. Peter's School to read the Eighth Amendment.
Excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
Good evening. I'm Claire Osgood, and it's my honor to introduce Erin Callahan of Springfield Estates Elementary School, who will read the Ninth Amendment.
The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
I'm delighted to introduce Gabrielle Sloan, St. Peter's School, who will read the 10th Amendment.
The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Now, you each have a copy of the Bill of Rights, and I pass around pens for everybody. I'd like you and all the people watching us around the country and around the world to please take a moment and sign it. And of course, when you take it home, put it on your refrigerator door, please. And now if our choir master would rise to lead us in My Country 'Tis of Thee as we wheel in the birthday cake. Tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. America the Beautiful? Beautiful for spacious skies, amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Auld Lang Syne. Auld old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. Now I need a volunteer, one of the children, to blow out the cake. Bingo. First one. You got it. Yes, you. And now you blow out the cake. Go right ahead, and we'll sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bill of Rice. Happy birthday to you. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, to thank the wonderful children from Springfield Estates Elementary School and St. Peter's School. I'm grateful to you all. You have done a great thing this evening. We are building a great thing across the country to the credit of our fellow citizens and to the preservation of maybe the greatest freedom, the most majestic and powerful document ever created by a free people. You've done a great thing. We're grateful to you. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. And God bless the Bill of Rights. Birthday cake around the corner.